I believe that long-term relationships beat short-term profits. And for me, I don't want to just do a loan for you. I want to be your lender for life. And so I'm able to do loans that other loan officers either may not be able to or choose not to. And that's very memorable for that client. They're going to not only do that loan with me and future loans, but they're also going to send me referrals.
Welcome back to Good Better Broker as we bring in Nicolas Toscano. He is a mortgage loan originator with Barrett Financial, and he is based in Gilbert, Arizona. Nick, great to have you here.
Justin, thanks for having me. And for those watching at home, if you're trying to level up, lock in.
All right, that's your own version of if you're trying to win, tap in, which I love. And that plays nicely because you live in the Phoenix area. You're a big Phoenix Suns fan. And right before we started recording, Nick, I asked you how long you've been a Suns fan for, and you told me that it really ramped up once Matt purchased the team.
It did, a lot.
Okay. All right. And by the way, if people go to your social media account, they may see you at a couple of games from time to time. That's how big of a fan you are. You love to go to the games, don't you?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago I was in Miami, got to see him. Devin Booker signed my jersey. Last night I was at the Suns game. Grayson Allen signed my jersey, gave me his shoes.
Good stuff. All right, so as much as I'd love to sit here and talk basketball with you, let's give our viewers, our listeners out there, some details on you. You have been with Barrett since 2022. Mm-hmm. You're also a licensed realtor, Nick, and in your career, you have funded over $1 billion. So I want to ask you, because you do have a wide array of experience. You have managed sales teams. You're an LO. You also have that real estate license. Which parts of those experiences do you think have made you most successful?
So I think all three tie in really well with one another. Managing a sales team has taught me about coaching performance, systems, holding people accountable. While being a loan officer, it keeps me in the trenches. So I'm able to see on the day-to-day, work with clients, referral partners. And then speaking of referral partners, my real estate license, it allows me to see it from the agent's perspective, start to finish, which makes collaborating with them so much easier.
When you and I first got on a call before this interview, I asked you, what separates you from the broker down the street? Why are you having so much success? And you told me, it was some variation of this, that it's an answer that may not make a lot of people happy because it refers to your comp, and you keep your compensation, Nick, low intentionally. Why is that the case?
I do. I believe that long-term relationships beat short-term profits. And for me, I don't want to just do a loan for you. I want to be your lender for life. And so I'm able to do loans that other loan officers either may not be able to or choose not to. And that's very memorable for that client. They're going to not only do that loan with me and future loans, but they're also going to send me referrals.
How transparent are you with your clients about that? Because I would think that there's a lot of potential borrowers out there who aren't very familiar with how the compensation structure even works for a mortgage loan originator like yourself.
I would agree with that. I think that's part of my job as a loan officer is to educate the borrower. Because if they don't understand, they can't make an informed decision. So I always take my time to educate them, let them know exactly how this all works. And I encourage them to shop. Go ahead, shop, see what's out there. Let's compare apples to apples. You'll see that I'm better.
And cheaper, too.
Absolutely.
You were telling me that you chase trophies. That's your big focus. What does that mean in the mortgage business?
Yeah, so to me, trophies represents excellence. It's about standards. I want to be the fastest, the most reliable, the trusted loan officer for when you need a loan.
And how do you get to that point? How do you establish a rapport with a client so that they do feel that way about you?
It's not about the money. And they know that, right? Matt says money follows success. And that ties back in with the trophies, right? I chase trophies, not the money. I know that the money will come. It's about taking care of that person and helping them.
So you're taking care of them, you're helping them, but you're also looking for something in return. So when you give that client a really good deal, because you do keep your comp intentionally low, what is the goal for you?
The goal for me is I want to be your lender for life, and I want all the referrals. I want you to, if your mom needs a loan, your sister, your coworker, your cousin, neighbor, I want to be that go-to. And usually with those referrals, they come pre-sold.
Yeah, it's always interesting when people come in here in their business, depends on those referrals. I always like to ask, at what point do you ask for the referral? Do you mention it up front? Is it something that you bring up in the middle of the process, or do you wait until the very end when they're happy at closing to then ask for it? How does that work for you?
For me, I always say you have to earn the right to ask for a referral. If I don't do a good job with your loan, then I haven't earned the right to ask to be able to do someone else's loan or your future loan, right? So it starts with that client and taking care of them. I need to make sure that client feels as if they're well educated in the process, they feel comfortable working with me, they had a good experience, so that at the end, if they haven't already sent me a referral, because a lot of times they will throughout the processing of their loan, at the end, I've now earned the right to ask. And they'll say, absolutely, yeah, in fact, my neighbor needs a loan. I was just talking to him, explained exactly what we're doing, and he wants your help.
Because you're giving them such a good deal, do you sometimes have them bring it up unsolicited before you even can ask for the referral?
Oh, yes. In fact, most of the clients that I work with on the very first phone call will bring up, hey, if what you're telling me is accurate, I know someone else that can benefit from these services.
Doesn't get much better than that. Let me ask you this, because we already went over how you keep your compensation structure low. You also are in the business of doing no-cost refis. What's been the impact of that on your business, Nick?
That's been huge. I'm not here to try to squeeze every little bit of basis points out of every single deal. By offering no-cost refinances, anytime there's a little bit of a drop in the market and I'm able to help that client save $100, $200, sometimes a few $100s a month, they know how easy the process was last time and they don't mind doing it again.
You were telling me that you do paid leads. How do you look at those?
I do. I pay for a lot of different types of advertising. I'll do mailers. I'll do warm transfers, live human beings on the other phone. I'll do data where I have to outbound call or text. To me, I want all the leads that I can possibly get, because any lead is just a conversation. And once we start having a conversation, typically we're going to do a loan. It may not be right then and there, but I'll be your future loan officer for when you are ready.
So you pay for leads. You don't get paid a lot per loan. So I think that at this point, some of our listeners are saying to themselves, how is this guy doing it? How is he running his business this way? So what's your answer to that one?
Low overhead. So I try to keep costs low. I don't have a lot that I have to spend as far as systems. I keep things very simple. And I'd rather reinvest any little bit into marketing, because that's going to generate business and more loans.
Speaking of marketing, how do you allocate your marketing spend? I know you kind of went over the mail drop and some of the warm transfers, but how would you say that your efforts with your marketing spend have contributed to the business that you're bringing in?
I mean, leads are life. You got to be able to talk to people. And although I generate a lot of business through referrals, the paid marketing helps me build that book of business to where I'm licensed in 47 states plus DC. So I'm not just doing loans in Arizona. Although I do a lot of loans in Arizona, I'm doing loans all over the country. And it works. I think we're going to talk here in a little bit about my schedule, but it works for me because I'm licensed in states where sometimes it's 3 hours ahead of Arizona time. And I'm licensed in Alaska, where it's a couple hours behind. I'm able to maximize my day that way.
Yeah, sir. Since you brought it up, let's talk about it right now. How does that aspect of your business, being licensed in so many different states with these different time zones, benefit you in the way that you're able to do business?
So I have a little bit of a disadvantage with my schedule in that I only work 3 days a week. I go to the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And the rest of the week I spend with my son, Malachi. So in those 3 days, I have to get everything that I need done. And sometimes I'm working 12, 14 hours. So that footprint of my licensing footprint allows me to be able to communicate with clients on the East Coast as well as on the West Coast and just take full advantage.
You told me before we brought you in here that becoming a dad has made you sharper as an LO. How is that the case?
Absolutely. Becoming a dad has transformed my business. My entire work schedule revolves around my schedule with my son. And so becoming a dad has taught me about the importance of time. And because I am only able to work those 3 days a week, I have to rely on partners like UWM, where they make things super easy to close loans, where I can generate my own documents. And a lot of times if I need help with something, it's a simple CR or phone call, and it's resolved within minutes. So it's made me more efficient.
It's amazing how parenting will do that for you, right? Especially when you've got a little one. It's like every minute of the day counts, and when you can carve out any time for yourself, whether that's to do something for you or something related to work, I agree with you. It does make you a whole lot more efficient. So good to hear that's been the impact of you or of you becoming a dad. By the way, we should also mention to our audience that you're doing all of this, and I know you don't really want me to put this out there as something that you're super proud of, but you're doing all this without a CRM. How are you doing that, Nick?
I am. It's my iPhone. That's it. I call, I text. I also have a pretty good memory. I remember every single client that I do a loan for. I remember the benefit of their loan. I remember getting them to the finish line. And so anytime there's a touch point where we talk again, we pick up exactly where we left off. I don't need something fancy. I mean, it's simple, but it works.
And not to say that, you don't have a great memory, because obviously you do, if you can just remember everything like that. You do have something to help you track your past clients. I believe you use Excel, right?
I do, yes. I use a very simple Excel spreadsheet. I color coordinate it, just name, loan amount, funded date, loan product, interest rate. And if it's green, it means that I was able to help them out again. If it's red, it means something went wrong where they're either selling the home or the benefit wasn't there. We got them such a good deal last time that it just doesn't make sense right now. But that's it. Excel.
So you're pretty much a minimalist, right, when it comes to this business, because there are people that have LOAs, they've got processors, they've got multiple CRMs, and here you are doing basically everything yourself with very little overhead, very low compensation structure. What's your message to other brokers listening to this about how they could do something similar in their business?
Keep it simple. If I'm not allowed to say it, keep it simple, stupid. I mean, you don't have to overcomplicate it, right? Once you do your first loan, I always say the first loan is the hardest. Then it's just rinse and repeat after that. If you close one loan, you can close 100, you could close 1,000, you could fund over $1 billion.
Like you have. I mean, the proof is in the pudding right there. In the referrals too, right? Like we go back to the referrals and how that's really been a key component of your business. I mean, the bottom line is whether you're doing this all yourself or whether you have all the tools and resources in the world, you got to do a good job. Otherwise, you're not going to get those people referring you business. Absolutely.
It starts with that client. I always say, when you're on the phone with someone, you got to drop everything else. Nothing else matters except that phone call right then and there.
Unless you're with your son.
Yes, but if I'm with my son, my clients are aware and I'm not picking up the phone.
So you actually do put that out there in advance. You tell them, listen, this is when I'm going to be available. This is when I'm not available, so that you're setting the proper expectations.
Absolutely, because if I'm working 3 days a week and my client's trying to get a hold of me on a Thursday or a Friday and Malachi and I are at the Phoenix Zoo or at a Suns game, I'm not picking up the phone. I don't want them to wonder what's going on. They know this is Nick's schedule. He's never steered me wrong. Last year, my average clear to close was 5 days for the year. So they know I'm going to get their loan done. There's no doubt in their mind. They're not calling me on those hours. And if they are, I'll send them a text later when I have my phone and just let them know, hey, I'll call you when Malachi goes to bed. No big deal.
I just love the fact that, we get all these different perspectives from doing this podcast, and, to hear you make it sound so simple, like you said, the acronym KISS, it seems easy, but we know that a lot goes into it. So hats off to you for all the great work that you're doing, and we appreciate you sharing with us. Nicolas Toscano from Barrett Financial. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Justin.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.